Welcome back to the Champion Forum podcast, where I am on a mission to help others lead, inspire, and win in this life. Today, I'm going to be saying some things that, it might go against everything you've been taught about leadership culture. Loyalty. Yes, loyalty. Loyalty might be killing your company.
This is the Champion Forum podcast with Jeff Hancher, the forum for leaders, champions, and dreamers.
Hey, welcome back, everyone. Listen, before we dive into the content, I want to remind you that we are only just a couple weeks away from the August 21st Performance Management Workshop. This workshop is the very framework that brought you the book, Firm Feedback in a Fragile World. You know, it was this workshop that I built during the pandemic in 2020. I sat for 10 days and built out a framework to solve what I believe is one of the biggest challenges that leaders face today. In all of my years of corporate succession planning, all of my notes from all of those meetings, and now being a business consultant for 5 years, I can tell you that leaning into the challenging conversations and doing it in a way that adds value is one of the biggest opportunities that leaders have. At the conclusion of this one-day workshop, I assure you, you will be equipped to navigate the toughest leadership discussions, that maybe even the ones that you've been avoiding. And I'm going to equip you to deliver these tough discussions in a way that's seen as a gift rather than just somebody that's getting disciplined. I'm going to lead this workshop, and I am going to ensure that you are ready to turn those dreaded conversations into leadership deposits. To learn more, go and register. Check out the events tab at jeffhancher.com. The events tab at jeffhancher.com, and I hope to see you there. All right, let's dive into it. You know, we love to talk about loyalty like it's always this virtue. And in many ways, you're not going to get an argument from me. I think loyalty is fantastic. I wish there were more loyal people in the world. And in many ways, loyalty can be paraded around as a great thing. And I would hope the majority of the time that's true. But here, there's a catch here with loyalty. There's this little asterisk that I believe comes with loyalty. And it's when loyalty is misapplied or maybe confused with avoidance. That's when it can quietly drain momentum. It can crush innovation. And it's going to put you in this compromised position as a leader that you might keep the wrong people in the wrong seat for way too long. This is when loyalty becomes abused. And so in this episode, I'm going to break down this topic and hopefully dispel some myths about loyalty. But I'm going to break this down on why misplaced loyalty happens. How does this even happen? How do we even get there? The risks that misplaced loyalty creates, how to prevent it from ever happening, to change your leadership mindset, and what it looks like to practice this healthy loyalty, because it has its place as well. And when we have this healthy loyalty, what it does is it strengthens the team. And so we're going to break this down into a couple of segments. And by the end of this episode, if nothing else, I hope to provoke some thought and challenge you to look inside your own team and your own leadership style. But let's start by answering this question. Why does this happen? Why does this unintentional misplaced loyalty happen? Let's talk about the root causes of this, because most leaders you don't cling to underperforming people out of sheer ignorance. You do it out of heart. I'm not here to criticize anybody. You know, leaders that are doing this, it's not because they're just ignorant and they don't know. It's because their hearts are so big. And look, I admire that. There's a human side of leadership. I get that. But when it goes too far the other way, that's when it can become abusive. And here's why this happens. to a lot of leaders that I've seen. There's this fear of disruption is one of the big reasons. You know, they're not a great fit anymore. You know this. But the thought of replacing them, it feels like pulling a thread that's going to unravel everything on your team, everything in your organization. And so there's this fear of disruption that creeps in. And so, you know what? I know they're not a great fit, but man, if I start doing too much, everything's just going to unravel. It might be an emotional attachment that you have. You know, maybe they've been with you since the early days. You know, they were the one that carried the bricks of the foundation to start the company. You know what I'm talking about? They were loyal to you. They were the ride or die. They never left. They never quit. They never took on other interviews or looked outside of your organization. They were there with you from the beginning. They were there when there was no certainty of a future. They were there when you were getting started, when things were the most challenging. And so now you have this emotional attachment to them. It could be guilt. You've mentored them. You've invested in them. And you worry that, man, if I go shake this up a little bit, I'm going to come out of this looking like the bad guy. If we part ways with this person, I'm going to feel a little guilty here, and I'm going to look like a monster. It could be cultural confusion also that's causing this. You know, you have built this family-like environment. I did an episode, I don't know, a year ago, that addressed we're not family here. Can I highlight this once again? Don't build a family culture at your company. I know I'm causing tension, but we're not family here. That leads to cultural confusion. You've built this family-like environment, but now it's blurring the lines. It's blurring these lines between professional accountability and personal loyalty. And this can become a real challenge in the workplace. And let me take a little side note here. Startup company, small business. This, in all of my clients that I see, the small business owner is the one that is affected by this most. Why? Because there's just a few of us. There's just a handful of us, you know, trying to scale, trying to build. And we're like a family here. We do Christmas. We do, you know, all these things. And we're like a family here. Here comes cultural confusion because you've tried to bring in things that normal families do. You're not a normal family. You are a business. You're building a great team, but that's it. We're not building family-like environments. What we're doing is we're blurring lines, and there's no professional accountability. This has to change, right? But there's another reason, too, which is avoidance of tough conversations. Let's be real. Listen, I talk about this a lot, maybe more than anything else. It's easier to rationalize than to confront. Isn't it true? It's easier just to rationalize why you're allowing this behavior to continue or this underperformance to continue. It's easier to do that than to just confront the situation. Maybe you've heard of this book I have. It's called Firm Feedback in a Fragile World, right? It's why I wrote the book. We avoid tough conversations a lot of times. This leads to this misplaced loyalty. I want you to ask yourself this question. Who on my team right now am I protecting because of who they were, not who they are? Who am I protecting because of who they once were, not who they are? You know, because what got you here won't get you there. We know that. Are we hanging on to dead weight too long? And no disrespect to these amazing people on your team, but that's really what we're talking about here. They become kind of the barnacles on the boat, slowing everything down. There are so many risks to misplaced loyalty. I think it's important to highlight some of the costs of letting misplaced loyalty go unchecked, because I think if I can put these in front of you, I hope the pain of not conforming is greater than the pain of dealing with these people that you have misplaced loyalty to. I promise you, if this goes unchecked, there is going to be cultural erosion. Your A players that are on your team that see that mediocrity is tolerated, what's going to happen is that's going to breed resentment. to the people that are carrying the torch, these A players. They're going to see this. They're saying to you, the leader, that person is okay with mediocre, and they tolerate it. Those A players will become resentful, which ultimately is going to lead to them leaving. It's going to stunt growth. You can't scale if you're dragging the wrong people with you. You can't. That load, carrying them with you to the top of the mountain, it's too much. It's overbearing. Innovation stalls because you're anchored to comfort, not capability. Being anchored to comfort is never going to be the thing that drives you to your capability. It's true. This is where leadership rises up and makes the hard decisions, isn't it true? There's going to be a bottleneck at leadership if this is not confronted. You end up doing work of other people. I'm going to take on the load myself when it's actually their load to carry, but I'm just going to throw that on my backpack and keep going. Why? Because you begin covering their weaknesses for them. So instead of confronting it, you just start doing a little bit more. Your focus shifts from vision, which is where we need you, to damage control. This is the bottleneck that's going to happen in your leadership if this misplaced loyalty goes unchecked. And there will be a talent drain. Make no mistake. High performers do not stay in environments where low performers are protected. Now, they are waiting on the side. They're watching and they're waiting to see, what are you going to do? And over time, the best performers, they're not going to stick around. No peak performer is sticking around where low performance is tolerated and in some cases celebrated. You need to keep your top talent. You think you might be being loyal, but you're losing the very people who could take you to the next level. Why? Because they lose respect. They lose respect for you. The bottom line, loyalty to the wrong people can turn into betrayal of the mission. Loyalty to the wrong people turns into you, the leader, betraying the mission, which is the high calling of leadership. It's always the mission. So how do you prevent loyalty from becoming a liability? Well, there's some practical things that you can do to begin changing mindset and to begin executing the right way. And let's make it clear, loyalty is not the problem. Unexamined loyalty is the problem. Here's how you can do some things to course correct. The first thing that I would tell you to do is separate gratitude from the role fit. Separate your gratitude from, are they a fit for the role? These are really two different things. I'm not saying that you can't celebrate people. You can be deeply thankful for someone's contribution and know that the role has outgrown them. Man, this came up so many times in my corporate career. I see it so many times with these small mom and pop startups that are now in year 10, year 15. And, that was their first hire kind of thing. And what was once a superstar is now below average. And their tenure and loyalty has saved them. That's high risk. You use a tool like right person, right seat. This is a great best practice to start to autocorrect maybe this misaligned behavior that you have. We recently had an EOS expert on the show, Paula V. She talked to us about this right person, right seat. This is an EOS mantra. This is where we're asking, is this person aligned with our core values? Right person. Do they get it? Remember the GWC that Paula V talked about? Do they get it? Do they want it? Do they have the capacity for the role? This is right seat. Do they align with my values? Right person. Do they get it, want it, have the capacity? Right seat. We have to answer these questions with this tool to find out, is there some misalignment here? If the answer is no on either one of these, right person, right seat, it's time for change. Either one of them, not one If either one of them is the case, it's time for change. And listen, change doesn't always mean exiting them out of the company. Change might be, look, you've been leading this team for 10 years. You're not fit to lead anymore. I'm going to give you job stability. I'm going to find you a role that you can thrive and excel in, but you can't lead this team anymore. If they're right person and wrong seat, it might be a pivot. If they're wrong person, wrong seat, it might be an exit. Know the difference. It's important that if we're going to make these changes in our mindset and in our pursuit, that we practice this balance between truth and grace, and we're willing to have truth and grace conversations. We have to adopt this mindset that feedback is honorable. We're willing to give it. We're willing to have the tough conversations. I want to really challenge you. Don't ghost people with silence. Honor them with clarity. You owe this to them. And by the way, if they do end up leaving your company and going on to do something else, it might be the greatest gift that you could ever give them, because they might be staying out of loyalty to you because they don't want to break your heart. And deep down inside, they're not fulfilled and they're miserable. Have the conversation. Have the conversation. Create pathways. We have to be people that are creating pathways, not prisons. You know, we're not here. This is not like POWs. You can't leave. You have to stay, right? No, create pathways, whether it's assignment or in the company altogether. We create pathways, not prisons. Loyalty doesn't mean locking someone in a role that's hurting them or the company. If you're not having the conversation, you're doing them a disservice. Help them pivot. Either help them pivot, help them level up, or help them exit. And do it with the highest level of leadership dignity that you can. But doing nothing for the sake of loyalty, that's not serving anybody. Ask yourself this question. If I were hiring for this role today, would I hire this person again? This is a great question to have some introspect here to find out. Am I hanging on to this person because of loyalty and all they've done? Or do I really believe that they can do the job? Would I hire them right now? If their resume came across my desk and this job was open, would I hire them? That's a great way to find out if you've been hanging on too long. There are many benefits of healthy loyalty. I mean, your culture gets stronger. People understand that excellence is the standard, not tenure. And look, I'm here to honor tenure. These are people that have stuck with you. I get it. I think they should be. It's honorable, but not at the sake of the mission. There's many benefits of this. Here's one: your leadership matures. These are hard things. These are hard decisions. But when you become a mature leader and a maturing leader, you become known as a leader who leads with both heart and courage, meaning you're willing to give up some of this loyalty for greater purpose. Your team grows. Your team grows in trust of you and respect of you even more through these tough conversations and sometimes tough decisions. Trust doesn't come from comfort. It comes from clarity. I believe that to be absolutely true. It comes from clarity. Your organization will thrive whenever you lean into this. When the right people are in the right seats, everything moves forward. Everything accelerates. So here's my challenge for you. Make a list of 1 or 2 team members who might be out of alignment and commit to yourself to having the necessary conversation. And if you're not really sure how to lean into that conversation, you got to get in that workshop on August 21st. You got to pick up that book, Firm Feedback in a Fragile World. We can't keep looking past the tough conversations. Loyalty's a gift. But when it turns to blind allegiance, it can sabotage your leadership. As a leader, your first loyalty, it is to the mission, to the vision, and to the team as a whole unit, not to an individual. The most loving thing that you can ever do is tell the truth. So ask yourself, Is there someone on my team right now that I'm protecting out of sheer loyalty at the cost of our future? Have the conversation. Lead with honor. Protect your culture and keep moving forward. Appreciate you all listening in today. If this episode challenged you, I'm going to ask you to do one simple thing. Share it with another leader in your life. Until next time, lead boldly, speak clearly, and keep turning that pressure into potential.
The Champion Forum Podcast with Jeff Hancher. Lead, inspire, win.